Okay, so last one I'm going to do today is one that sprung from the video that I also did today regarding consulting. This is speaking more to the running and building of a company. So there was a couple of different requests that are somewhat tied to this topic, and I've decided to put those in a separate video because I think there's some more nuances that pertain more to that particular question. So starting a company, the idea for INTJs, and again I'm only generalizing for myself, going into the concept of building a company, first of all, took a lot of nervous time and deliberation before actually pulling the pin and deciding I was going to jump in and start building a company. First off, again, it is something that it's the unknown for me. I've come through being an employee, leader, and also a consultant. However, starting something from literally scratch, where you don't even have, it's not even for myself, because I built a software, designed a software program. You are starting with ether. There's literally nothing, and you're trying to create. So that's a fascinating thing. But if it's something that you are starting everything from scratch, it's also very, it definitely plays on your level of how much confidence you have in what you are and who you are. It challenges that entire scope, because there's going to be times I found where it's like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not able to. And it's not a constant self-doubt. It's more the stress that comes from the everyday activities of starting a company because of the unforeseen. So I speak to that in other videos, but if you can't control as best as you can, there's so much unforeseen that your high standard for yourself is constantly being put in question because you aren't able to control or measure against something. There's no benchmark for you. And everyone that is already out there has already started and they can do it. So you're always analyzing yourself and what you could do better, what you haven't thought of, what you need to do. So that is a big challenge in the initial start, and it does continue, but I use an analogy that I have read about before, where basically, say a square rock, as it slowly gets eroded and turned over and over, when it goes through a river, it gets beaten down on the sides, becomes a circle, and gets to flow more smoothly. And I think that's it speaks quite a bit to my experience in starting a company. So there's a lot of things that are very big hurdles for INTJs, I find, in starting a company. Number one is administration. So the absolute huge amount of paperwork and detail that is so boring and repetitive and frustrating, because it is not your strength, and you know you have to do it, at least some of it, every day. It never leaves. There is no one to pick up your slack unless you're fortunate enough to have a great administrative assistant that can help you. But chances are, if you're getting started on a company, you are wearing every hat. And I can't stress this enough. People talk to it, but with INTJs, it is very difficult, because I find for myself, I start losing focus. I get frustrated. I try to make it or do it quicker just to get it over with. And then I run into more mistakes on teeny tiny details. So that's fine if you're making mistakes on some things. But when you're dealing in the world of, say, finances, taxes, grant funding, those types of things, you have to make sure that everything's perfect. Or as close to perfect as possible, or be able to access the resources and be able to pay for someone to do that for you. So that's something that's huge. The other one is HR, people. Very difficult because we set our expectations very high for ourselves. And I find that I run the gamut of either feeling that I don't want to be, the bitchy boss. And so I'm almost too nice in the way of dealing with performance, which I find very ironic because for someone like myself, I like being direct, but I'm always concerned when I'm now a leader that I want the people that work with me to have a strong sense of identity, to be able to empower them, that type of deal. That is very draining for us because we like autonomy. We don't want to be asked or put in a position where we are dealing with the emotion side of things and the administration that goes along with having employees. But you have to, if you're scaling to a certain point, you have to look at where you might definitely have the situation when you need employees. So that one is difficult. Again, the boredom on the tedious tasks. So I love when I read about how, you should outsource that or get a virtual assistant or things like that. But I find from my experience, the ability to either get, say, a virtual assistant up to speed on exactly what you're needing and or train someone to come in and support you takes so much time. And you have to remember too, dynamics of that individual. So it might work out that they just don't have a good fit with your company and you have to let them go. So you have to do that all over again. And again, because we like efficiency, that's a frustration because you're basically retraining. Many people love this part. For me, that is just extremely taxing when you're thinking about the other things, like also building the product that you're actually trying to make money off of and keeping that ball rolling. So that is tough. The other one is I found when I was starting with building the company, I found it was really draining to have these things in place and not realize how much of a drain they were going to be on the process itself in being able to get to commercialization and get to being able, again, people to buy the product. And I was losing the creativity or feeling like I was losing my creativity muscle. And I don't know for other INTJs out there, but that is essential for me. If I lose that, especially through burnout, that is horrible. Because then you're also feeling despondent. You don't have that, what got you here in the first place, that idea that the links, the system, getting all excited about the bigger picture. You're stuck in the weeds. So I found one thing that I really appreciated was reading a lot online. So I know a lot of you out there don't read blogs. I love blogs because I want to focus on people that are in a similar situation as mine so I can glean information and best practices off of them. I mean, that's why everyone loves, tips and that type of thing. So I found getting down there and then using that as actually a research tool, because if they had good luck with that, then I can go in and start doing digging on my own regarding that. And it started getting that creativity muscle consistently working. So, for example, there's a few folks that do the coaching and they speak to the power of allowing yourself about 2 hours a day to read. So if you've been up to speed on that type of philosophy, they speak about leaders over, the last however many years where they dedicated X amount of time each day to reading. And it doesn't matter what it is, but it's exposing you to something that is outside the minutia of your everyday work. And it keeps the juices going. It keeps you, for myself, it kept me passionate on continuing down a path when you want to just quit, because it's not quit, but you want to just stop for a while because you've had enough. So that research component, that reading component was massive. So I sound like Debbie Downer on all the negatives, but I feel that in the around social media and that type of thing, they all speak to, it's fantastic to start a company and it's all the pretty things and you'll get your Series A funding and you're going to make, all this money. And the reality is a lot different. Yes, there are those that do go into that type of situation based on the model they wanted for their company. And I wish I had a little bit more perspective on the total amount of all these other extraneous pieces to starting a company, so I could have made a more educated decision. The one thing I do want to point out about that, though, is it would not change why I decided to start this company. It was from an idea, and I wouldn't change to this day what I'm doing. So anyways, that one is a really long one, but as you can tell, I'm a little bit passionate about it. So thanks so much. And again, video requests, just make sure to put video requests in the beginning of the comment section. Thanks.